All right. So good afternoon. I'm Tracy Clark with the Louisa County Chamber of Commerce. Today, we have a special presentation and a couple of special guests. First of all, I want to introduce you to our new board member and managing director for the Main Street Initiative, Bob Sweeney, who's with us today. We're really excited. We've got a complete bio and information on our website about Bob, but I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce us to the resource Zoom and project for today. So Bob, go right ahead.
Thank you. And a special thank you to Tracy Clark and the Louisa Chamber for putting on these. This is the first of 3 educational programs, really supporting the electric vehicle industry and kind of helping build our knowledge base as a community about what it is we're about to all have to experience. So by 2040, 76% of all vehicles on the road will be electric. 76% of all vehicles. By 2030, all new car sales that have gas in them will cease in Europe and in some states here in the United States, including Virginia right now. We know about legislation that the Republicans are trying to pass to stop that, but right now it is proposed to go down by 2013, no gas sales in the state of Virginia. The average cost to refuel a gas car is $45 per fill-up. The average cost to recharge your car is $5.80. So the price is coming down. Again, a very, very special thank you to the Louisa Chamber for and Tracy Clark for putting this program on. The next 2 programs will happen this fall sometime. So keep your eyes peeled for them. They're going to be very, very exciting programs like this one. And this one, we are very, very happy to introduce Sean Caldwell. Sean is with Guidehouse. Guidehouse is an international management consulting firm supporting clients in energy and sustainability infrastructure. They are the implementation partner for something called the Scip program at Dominion Energy, Virginia. Today, today's topic is going to be Dominion Energy, Virginia Smart Charging Infrastructure Pilot Program. The incentives available for installing workplace electric vehicle charging. We are going to learn about this Scip program. Again, it's the Smart Charging Infrastructure Program. That's the SCIP program. We're going to learn about eligibility, and we're going to learn about how to fill out the application. And the person who's going to lead us in that is Sean Caldwell. So Sean, take us away.
Good afternoon. Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Bob. I know we were trying to get the presentation up and running. I'm not sure if Tracy has gotten it just yet. So
No, I still haven't received it, but I can pull up the website if that'll be helpful.
Yeah, let's see. Sure thing. You can pull up the website, and then on the website there's also much that I can talk to there. So let me just. Do you have the website address?
Yep, there you go. So here's the website.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, we're calling it audible here, folks. So thank you for joining. Well, at a very high level, well, first off, thanks, Bob and the Louisa County group for inviting us to speak and to talk about this very exciting program. The Dominion Scip, or Smart Charging Infrastructure Pilot Program, was launched in October of 2020 and has been up and running ever since. With that, we are nearing the end of the program, unfortunately, and I have to be, I would be remiss if I didn't put this up front. to make sure that everyone listening and those that you would eventually or subsequently tell about the program will have that information again up front, that by December the 31st of this year, projects need to be installed, up and active in order to receive the rebate dollars as a result of this program. But again, want to put that up front, want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And really the big takeaway is hurry, act fast, and move now. Now, to take a step back, the Scip program, again, launched in October of 2020, originally focused on 4 areas. We're talking today specifically about the workplace segment. So yes, Tracy, if you would like to continue to scroll down, we can highlight that sort of middle column there, workplace. And the way that the program has been designed is that there are infrastructure and installation rebate dollars available for non-residential Dominion Energy customers, workplace customers. So if you have a office building or a retail location where, at least one or more of your employees are driving an electric vehicle, or, you are pretty sure and confident that at least one or more drivers are frequenting your location, then you would be essentially eligible for the program. The dollars that you see on the screen, going from top to bottom, from a customer infrastructure perspective, and that includes things such as the actual like transformer, or the panel on customer side, any sort of conduit or wiring that need to be run from the point of service, upgrades to breakers and the like. So a lot of times the customer installs will require upgrading of a panel. And this is not a guarantee, but if that happens, if that's required, then those costs will be covered up to $9,000 based on the customer infrastructure rebate allocation. The networking fee is, as a function of the program, the available chargers for rebate and redemption need to be smart chargers, right? And associated with smart chargers, you need to have sort of a network service plan. So this particular rebate allocation, the network fee, is a per charger fee, and it's a one-time payment over a 5-year commitment for the program. But that network fee is basically the connection of that charger to the robust the cloud network, similar to your cell phone having a bill for being connected to either Verizon or AT&T or whomever. But that does enable that smart charger to then communicate the data, which is really the underpinning of why this program is important to Dominion, is to understand charging behavior, get data from vehicles that are charging, so that additional programs down the road can be designed in support of electric vehicles, and Dominion can kind of plan on the back end to avoid any disruption of service or mitigating grid impacts based off of having a better sense of vehicles that are on the road and vehicles that are charging. But anyway, the network fee, again, is a $2,000 allocation per charger. Some chargers are dual port, so it'll be per charger, not per port. And it's a one-time payment of up to $2,000. And then there's an equipment rebate allocation as well. And as you can see, that's per charger. And that's $2,700 per charger, not per port. Now with workplace chargers, typically, right, there are either some vendors sell a bit of a fleet charger or a workplace charger that doesn't have all the bells and whistles with collecting credit card payments or touch to pay kind of functionality, because they're generally more catered towards the employees of that workplace. But anyway, that's the allocation that's available for the actual chargers themselves. So all total, with one charger installation at a site, maxing out the network fee and the customer infrastructure, one could be seeing upwards of $13,000 in rebate dollars. Now, as most projects have a minimum of 2 chargers in place, 3 or 4 chargers, so that rebate amount just grows up to a maximum of 10 chargers that are eligible for the workplace segment. So yeah, that's an overview of the program. We also have some transit dollars that are still untapped, but that's not really the focus of today's discussion. But again, wanted to give that overview of the workplace program. By chance, Tracy, did that email come through? I can walk through some additional information, but I know it does a little bit better job to kind of step through. No, not yet. Okay. All right. So let's see if you can scroll down a little bit further. We have a number of resources. Keep going, Tracy. We have a number right there. So there are a number of resources that are available that provide additional information about the program. If you can click on the participation guide. Thank you. So this participation guide provides just a quick one-pager on how to participate as an interested customer. If you look on the left-hand side, and if we could blow that up just a little bit, that'd be helpful. Thank you. All right, so if we look at that first bullet, right, be sure to review the program details. And a lot of the work that's done from a customer perspective on the front end includes ensuring that there is a site that has been identified where an electric vehicle charger should be or is planned to be deployed. And the reason why I bring this up is with the tight timeline that I alluded to on the front end of the conversation, really important to have your ducks in a row as best as possible because of that tight timeline. Now, what that means is, where in a parking lot or where in a parking space or in a parking deck would you be looking to deploy or install that charger? Based upon that location, working with either your building engineers and Dominion, their work order group, or their distribution design team, you can then identify, okay, what power is being delivered to that particular location, what power componentry is available versus what's needed, right? So if there are upgrades needed at the site from a service perspective, you want to know that in as much advance notice as possible, because then you have to factor that into your time frame for the project, right? If there's no additional power componentry needed, there are no upgrades needed on your side as a customer in terms of panel and conduit and wiring, then I'd say that's a really, really attractive site to move forward with deploying electric vehicle chargers. If on the other hand, there's a lot that needs to be done, trenching and cutting concrete or what have you, installing a transformer, it's probably not an ideal location, again, only with the constraint of the time allotted or allocated for the remainder of the program. Now, after you've found a great site and you've engaged Dominion and we've got thumbs up, green light, the next step would basically be to apply for the program. So as you can kind of see that last bullet, apply to the pilot program. There are steps that are noted, I think, following this. Let's see, scroll back up for me. Yes. So applying to the program, first you have to register. There's a web-based portal that all customers who are participating in this program log into. That link is on the Dominion site. It says apply now. If you click on the Dominion tab, Tracy, thank you, and scroll back up a bit. Keep going right there. So if you click on that apply now, you can go ahead and click on it, by the way. Then this is the registration. You'll see if you haven't already registered, the bottom left-hand corner, you click that button to register for a new account. What it's going to then ask you is for your Dominion account ID, first, last name, ... And that's basically when you go to fill that in, your account ID needs to be your Dominion service account ID. If you're a workplace or if your customer has multiple account IDs, that's fine. They just need to be associated with the service address or location where that electric vehicle charger is going to be installed. So once you have your account ID, you can get that off your bill. You can call into Dominion Energy's help desk and they can give you information as long as you can provide the necessary verification items. But easiest way is to get it off your bill, whether it's a paper copy or online, and then that'll be the account ID you'd like to use for that service location. But once you fill in all that information, then it'll take you to an application portal. I don't have the PDF here that walks through. There's a consumer reference guide, but simply put, stepping from kind of start to finish, you'll enter in the information that describes the project. That to include the number of chargers, the brand name of anticipated chargers, the network provider that will support those chargers, and all of these options from a hardware and software perspective are pulled from our qualified vendor list. We, as a part of the program, Dominion wanted to make sure to streamline how many vendors can participate, really for the sake of standardization, quality control, as this is a pilot. But if you click on that, yes, and scroll down further, you can see that qualified vendor list at the second from the bottom. You can click on that there. And this qualified vendor list, actually, it'll be updated tomorrow for 2 contacts that have left their respective organizations. But you can see on the left-hand side, the vendors for network administration, also known as software, Greenlots, EV Connect, ChargePoint, and SemaConnect are the 4 qualified vendors to participate in the program from an administrative or, network or software side. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the additional vendors for the hardware, so the actual chargers themselves, BTC, ABB, EV Box, ChargePoint, and SemaConnect. ChargePoint is kind of a one-to-one relationship, but the others can be mix and match. So, but again, all of this is demonstrating that there are qualified vendors chosen for the program. And when you go to apply, right, in your application, they're going to ask for, the portal asks for, again, the number of chargers, the vendors that you're selecting and going with, and both network and hardware options. So are we planning to take questions now or at the end of the conversational presentation, Bob?
Either way, are you ready to take some if anybody has any?
Yeah, I just wanted to pause. I know, I've been kind of talking for a little while. I just wanted to pause and see if there were any comments or questions before I go a little bit further.
Anybody have any questions at this point?
Okay.
No, I don't think so. We our interesting piece is if we're doing 2 different sites, then you have to have two different accounts, I suppose.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, because all of the association is tied to the actual service location.
Yeah.
What the charges will be, right? And not just from a rebate payment perspective, but as a program implementer, I know when we go on the back end and we look to pull details of where the charging sessions are happening, how much electricity is consumed, right? We want to know it at the level of where that is actually happening, because again, it kind of fits into distribution planning, looking for any stress points or clustering of the EV charging service. So, but yes.
I'm sorry, Sean, I have a question. This is Tracy.
Absolutely.
The benefit of those workplaces that are Dominion customers, I want to reiterate to everybody, you must be a Dominion customer in order to take advantage of this program.
Correct.
And in the beginning, you were talking about checking, the load and where to put the equipment and the charger and all of that. Who should the workplace contact to do that work? Do they just call into Dominion like for any other problem? Is there a special number? Like, what's that very first step? And who is the contact to get that evaluated to make sure that they have the right load and what's involved? Because you mentioned that that's the first step before they actually apply.
Yeah, that's a great question. Can you click back on the participation guide tab to the right? Yeah. So if you look on the bottom left, scroll up a little bit. I'm sorry, right there. Review electrical access. So two parts to the answer there, and it doesn't, I guess it doesn't really call out the Dominion side, but one, from a workplace perspective, many, Dominion customers that we've talked to and worked with have had either their own electrical contractors on staff or that they've worked with. But so that's one side of the equation, is to make sure you're in contact with your respective electrical contractor. And then the other side of the equation is informing Dominion's distribution design team of, the installation and sort of charger install plans. That goes through the distribution design team number, but you can call in, or the distribution design team, excuse me, but you can call into the general Dominion Energy customer service number and communicate that, you're installing an EV charger and you need to basically speak with the distribution design team. Does that answer your question, Tracy?
Yes, it does. Thank you. So
Absolutely.
if nobody has any other questions, we can keep going.
Yeah,
Anyone?
And the last piece, I guess, of sort of the presentation really hits on it. You can scroll up a little bit so I can, on the right-hand side, we'll walk through the application process, and then which also takes us down to redemption. And then, I'll go ahead and kind of stop there and open the floor for any more questions. But we talked about registration. We walked through, when you go to the login screen, you leverage your account ID, your Dominion Service account ID to register. Once you register, then you'll have the opportunity to now submit an application. We talked about including, number of chargers, the actual manufacturer's name for the EV chargers, the actual software and network administration. So you'll go through and complete your application. And I'll just say this, for anyone who has any questions about the portal and the application, please make sure to give us a call. There's an 800 or 833 number, should be, I believe, at the bottom of this document. If not, it's back on the homepage. Yeah, so that number there, the 833-644-0830, or shoot us an email to dominionenergyskip@guidehouse.com. But we are standby or ready to make sure that any questions that you would have, that we can answer them in a very expeditious and timely manner. So with that being said, once you complete your application and you submit it, then we intake the application and we review it. There is a note there to submit a site plan if applicable. Really, that only applies if you're putting in a large bank of chargers, call it 10 plus, and you need, upgrades to your transformer, your paneling, so significant service upgrades. Otherwise, a site plan is not necessary. But, I already talked about engaging your contractors and sort of getting a qualified bid. That's all around figuring out where you're going to put it, what does it take and how much is it going to cost. After that, then once we review the application, we deem it to be an eligible application, meaning the right selections and information has been filled in, then you as a customer have an opportunity to confirm that you're going to participate. This just means clicking a simple checkbox, because once you click the checkbox, then rebate dollars are then allocated for you and your participation in the program. So very important. Once it's eligible, we'll send it back. We'll shoot you an email, give you a phone call to say, hey, you've been deemed eligible. Now go back into the portal, click confirm. Now, you don't have to wait for confirmation. Once you've figured out the cost, location, and that no additional upgrades are necessary, it's okay to push the gas and go, right? Or push the accelerator and go. Because on our side, it's a matter of just formalizing the documentation. Again, after you've been deemed eligible, there's nothing else for you to wait for. Get started with your project and go. You can see here, step number 4, installing the charger station. Yes, we talked about the qualified vendor list, but this is really totally in the customer's wheelhouse. If you have questions about, installation, we can try to field them, but if they're more construction oriented or technically oriented as it relates to those chargers, then you should be, engaging the manufacturers directly. But once you've installed your charger, to potentially include any permitting or, installation of customer side, power componentry. But once you installed your charging station, then the next step on our end, that's kind of where we come back into the picture, is the verification and then sort of rebate redemption process. So once you finish installing, then what we need next, very important, you know, to take note of this, what we need next are site photos and paid invoices and receipts. So, you know, we've had customers who kind of sent over the original invoice and have kind of expected a check. We need demonstration that that invoice has been paid, the dollars have actually been spent. Therefore, there are dollars to then redeem. So, but once you get all the, you know, your receipts or paid invoices in place, and they should be itemized to show line level detail. And the reason being is because as we talked about before, the allocation of the rebate dollars span across customer infrastructure, the actual network fee, and the charger. So at a very minimum, we just want to be able to identify, okay, what costs are associated with the charger, what costs are associated with the network administration service, and what costs would be associated with the actual power componentry and infrastructure to make the site ready for a charger. Once we get that information in, there's a stated turnaround time of about 90 days, but you know, we're doing it no longer than a month, as long as we have your information. Well, that means the approval, communication back and forth with Dominion to, you know, cut the check basically, and then you should receive that check in a month's time frame. So with that, also very important to note, whatever address you have on your service address is where that check will be sent. So, you know, going back to your point, Bob, right, in terms of two different service addresses, that is where those checks will be sent. Now, if you give us a call, you know, there's, depending upon how complicated it is to unravel your service account information on file, we could potentially, you know, modify where those checks are sent. But general rule of thumb, those checks are sent to those service addresses that are on file. So again, here's kind of the contact information at the bottom. We provide white glove service to any and all of our customers or Dominion's customers that call in and need some assistance applying for questions about the program or, you know, what have you. And I encourage you all, please shoot us an email, send us a phone or make a phone call to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you through each step of the journey. And that's it for me. I'd say, you know, again, I'll open it back up to the floor for any additional questions. Last comment, I guess, also is timing is of the essence. I can't stress that any harder other than saying it again, right? I'm sorry, my camera's way off. But timing is of the essence. And we want all of the participants who, you know, want to be a part of the program. We want everybody to receive rebate dollars. But again, timing is of the essence. So thank you everyone for the opportunity to speak. And Bob, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Sean. That was Sean Caldwell from Guide House again, who is the big implementation partner for Dominion Energy Virginia to get the Scip program up and running and at our places of business. I only have one question, but I'll open it up to the floor. Are there any other questions from the audience? So we talked, Sean, about the approved list of vendors on the sales side, on the charging station side. But my question is there an approved list of vendors on the installation side? Or if there's not, do we have to go through any process to at least let you know who our vendors are going to be?
Good question. So there's not a commensurate approved list on the installer side.
Okay.
We had conversations about this in terms of designing the program, but as I'm sure you can appreciate, there's a wide variety of installers, which basically for a level 2 charger is any licensed and bonded electrician I mean, at the end of the day, and this is in a residential setting, I installed the charger at my own home, but I wouldn't recommend that for a workplace. So, since there are any number of electricians, electrical contractors that can effectively install a level 2 charger, we did not go through the exercise of refining a qualified installers list. It's totally up to you as a workplace to determine. Now, the vendors do have some preferred installers. If, let's just say, as an organization, you don't have a desired electrician, or you'd rather work with someone that is seemingly more familiar with electric vehicle chargers, then absolutely. Each of the vendors, so on the left-hand side of that qualified vendor list, but each of the vendors have their preferred contractors and installers in you all's territory and region. So, and that just takes me to a sort of a spin-off point. The way that we envisioned and designed the program was such that there would be hopefully a single point of contact with your vendor for anything construction and hardware and software related. So when you see that qualified vendor list, right, and you have those 4 vendors, Greenlight, EV Connect, ChargePoint, and SemaConnect, definitely work through them for 1, the actual hardware, and 2, for the software, because it's dependent upon what hardware you choose, which software will run, and then 3, for the installers. So again, trying to streamline it a bit and leverage the EVSE supply companies a little bit more in this particular arrangement. Do contact them first as it relates to identifying which hardware, software, and installation resources are at your disposal.
Awesome. And then Michael, actually, Mike just put a question in the chat. If Rappahannock Electric supplies our commercial property electricity, are we eligible to participate? Asking, as during the call I've only heard, you have to be a Dominion customer.
Well, unfortunately, if Rappahannock Electric Co-op is your electric service provider, then unfortunately you are not eligible for the Dominion Energy Scip program. If Rappahannock, which I believe are served by Dominion, or is in Dominion's territory, would like to install and they're served by Dominion, there are a couple co-ops or munis that are that way, then yes, you can participate. But again, the requirement is that you actually take electrical service from Dominion Energy in order to participate in the program.
I just want to clarify that when we're talking about the program, we're talking about this rebate, okay?
Correct. Correct.
Anyone is eligible to put EV charging station in their workplace if they want to, but for this particular call, we're specifically talking about taking advantage of this rebate, which, to reiterate, because some people joined in the middle, in order to receive this rebate, you have to be a Dominion customer and you have to be installed and charging by the end of this year, December 31st. And my question, Sean, goes directly to that for the benefit of everyone on here. Because, the time frame is really, really short to take advantage of this. What is the, what in a normal situation with no outlandish, preparation or digging trenches and things like that, if somebody has a site that has enough load, that has a good location, their electrician says, yeah, you're good to go, is it reasonable to anticipate that a workplace would be able to install and be charging by the end of this year if they got started now? Yes,
it is totally reasonable. And the caveats that you articulated on the front end of that statement, Tracy, are very important too, right? If you've got a lot of electrical service upgrades to make, then no, it's not reasonable at all. If you have contacted your vendor and the vendor's telling you there's a 10-week lead time on getting that particular device, then the reasonableness and feasibility are dramatically reduced. But we do know that there are a couple of the vendors that have the inventory in hand for the vehicle chargers. And when that is the case, where the vehicle chargers are available and, you know, that particular customer doesn't need any significant amount of work on site, then absolutely feasible. Because the actual installation of a level 2 charger, it's a pretty quick job. Like any licensed electrician can install an EV charger, you know, in the course of a day, right? And a day is being a little conservative because, you know, it's basically a 240 volt outlet, like you would have a dryer outlet or, you know, an oven or some other, you know, large home appliance being installed. Now, of course, you got to run the wiring and all that good stuff. But again, it's not a monumental task. You know, if we were talking about a DC fast charger, it'd be different. But for a level 2, yes, it's totally feasible. Again, with the caveat that your ducks are in a row, that the hardware is in place from the vendor's side, and that there's not a significant amount of electrical work necessary at the customer site.
Thank you for that. And I do want to just chime in for a little bit of a follow-up and you know, just again, for the benefit of the businesses, a lot of these questions I had that we have talked about before. So if we get into this, we're approved, we start, you know, since it's a rebate program, we would have to outlay the funds to begin and do the process of installing an EV charger at our workplace. If something goes awry or goes sideways, that would delay for some reason and put us at risk or being vulnerable to not meeting the up and charging by December 31st, when I was planning on and counting on the rebate money. What is there any sort of contingency or any accommodations, or I don't know, there's a blizzard in December, I don't know, something like that?
So great question. You know, I'll speak as a sort of a strict representative of the program. And my response is that everything needs to be installed up and running by the 31st of December. You know, I would not speculate on any exceptions or, you know, unique sort of exclusion handling because of things like a blizzard or, you know, an electrical contractor could not get their hands on a particular part or service item for weeks at a time. So, you know, again, as a strict representative of the program, right, I'll stick with the fact that, yes, the 31st of December, everything needs to be installed. If not, then yes, your rebate dollars would be at risk.
Thank you. I wasn't trying to set you up or anything. I just,
no worries.
I was mainly trying to kind of plant the flag for businesses that are considering this. It's a great opportunity. The main thing that they need to weigh out from a business perspective is, you know, if they miss the deadline, you know, are they comfortable with outlaying the money to do the EV charging, right? So in my opinion, from evaluating this as a business or a workplace, that's the question. You know, if I do miss that deadline of install, am I still okay with outlining the funds to get this installed? That's what I wanted to try to bring out to everyone, like make the decision. Because you said this to me, actually, make the decision on, is it a smart move for your business, or are you doing it just because there's a rebate, right? Because there's two different answers to that. So I just wanted to reiterate to everybody, evaluate it as a need for your workplace and business, and does it make sense? And then do everything to try to, you know, make the requirements of the rebate, not vice versa. Don't go into this, oh, I'm going to get the rebate, because now you set yourself up, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I appreciate that because, again, you know, having transparency and, you know, full awareness of the constraints and, you know, the potential outcomes are important, right? So, I appreciate that question. One thing I will say is, to your other point, Tracy, that evaluating this as a business decision independent of the rebates is absolutely the right thing to do. Now, there's, literature posted and, all types of, information out there where adding the amenity of electric vehicle charging does several good things as an uplift for your business, right? And I won't go too far down the rabbit hole there, but just imagine it's there's a cachet of green and clean and environmentally friendly, and there's locations now that vehicles will seek out as destination locations to charge their vehicle, and depending upon your employee's situation, they will drive their vehicles to work, and maybe there's an additional lift in terms of job satisfaction or company satisfaction as a result. So there's a whole handful of additional things there, but there's definitely value from a business perspective for employees, potential public customers, depending upon if you make the charger customer facing. And then, from a company standpoint, in terms of reducing your carbon footprint or being able to assist in reducing the carbon footprint of that business and its employees. Any other questions from the group? Let me check the chat box here. Okay.
Awesome. Well, if there are no other questions, I just want to again thank Tracy and the Louisa Chamber for hosting us today, and Sean Caldwell from Guidehouse, the expert on electric vehicles and charging systems, for doing the presentation today. It was outstanding, Sean, and I thank you very, very, very much. And so with that, we'll close out today.
Thank you, Bob, and thank you to the rest of the team, and thanks for folks that joined.
Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.